Hey guys, welcome back to another installment at Trini Point of View. Stranger Things Season 2 has done something really remarkable. It has for most viewers lived up to the quality and hype of Season 1, or it has surpassed Season 1 altogether. I personally love Season 1, but what Season 2 has done for me is solidify itself as one of my favorite series of all time. Another major takeaway similar to Season 1 has to be how time accurate the Duffer Brothers were with Season 2, and I have a list of things here that they were really spot on with. Ghostbusters, Mike Myers, that was a Mike Myers costume. KFC, they actually tagged it as KFC finger licking good. Polaroid clothing, the cars, the tech that they used, it was very time accurate. You know, like the big walkie-talkies that you would see in the series. Their hairstyles, even the snacks that they were eating, you know, like they was always stressing on these Three Musketeers. That is something from the 80s, and I loved it in the 90s. Everything was just so on point that it just blew my mind. Episode 4 was one of those episodes that really honed in on the detail, because the Duffer Brothers, there was this one scene where there was somebody like in a cell, and they were yelling at a camera. They were looking up like in the corner at a camera and screaming at that camera, and you could see them screaming, but it took that half a second to hear the voice. And you know what, that is exactly what technology was like back in the 80s. You know, they were so on point and so detailed with almost every aspect of filming. One thing that Season 2 does is embrace the fact that what's happening presently and what happened in Season 1 is such a major event. It's very hard to self-contain, and more people will find out about it. Now for Mike, Lucas, Dustin and Will, they weren't on screen together as much as I wanted them to be, but you know what? These four kids are so talented. There really isn't one standout performance, but I loved all of them, and you could tell me down in the comments which was your. I kind of have a feeling this season everybody kind of fell in love with Will's acting, his dramatic side, but you know what? Lucas really highlighted himself when he was opposite one of the female characters, and Dustin, he wasn't as goofy as Season 1, but he was still the comic relief. And well, Mike, I didn't feel it as much with Mike, but you know what? His acting was still very solid. Hopper had some great scenes, but I'm not sure if I'm walking away from this with him as a standout performance. I think his performance was great, but I think Season 1 was greater to him. What about the inclusion of Frodo's BFF, Samwise Gamgee? He delivered that extra dimension to Joyce's character, which really helped her seem like she settled down after the incident in Season 1. Dacre Montgomery also joins the cast as Billy, Max's older brother, and if you think he looks familiar, he is from this year's new Power Rangers movie as the Red Ranger. Their backstory added an extra element of drama and also helped to remind us that the Stranger Things universe is not just all fantasy, but they have real life issues that a lot of families dealt with back in the 80s. While the drama was very limited, it was still very effective, and using that as a tool to help the audience feel very grounded is what makes that element such a great addition to this season. Steve actually does a complete 180, and he continues on his path of a good guy. I guess in this town you really can't have two bullies, but you know what, being a good guy suited him a lot better than being a bully, as a semi-bully we could say, as in Season 1. Nancy's story this season was a bit weak. She never seemed that important to the plot, but coming down to the end we understood how torn she was about the loss of Bab, and then that gives her character a bit of meaning. 11, as Hopper rightfully says, is a bit of a brat this season. Millie Bobby Brown proves that her success in the first season was not a fluke, and she basically acted throughout the entire first half of the second season on screen alone. I'm not sure if it's me, but the thing about 11 is she has a dread vexed face and sad face, but when she smiles she's like a real gem, and it just lights up the screen and makes you feel like everything's going to be okay. You could actually see it in this little girl's face that hey, she's actually happy. A new addition to the cast was a young character named Maxine, who I mentioned before. That's Billy's younger sister, and she fits so well into the gang. Her chemistry was unexpected, but definitely it was undeniable. One of my favorite scenes has to be when 11 finally shows up and Mikey goes off and has a scene with Hopper. Hopper tells him, well, you know, he's been hiding her and it's for the good of everyone, and Mikey and Hopper have this argument back and forth. And the thing is, Mikey being such a young kid and Hopper being such a talented actor, those two gave such a good performance that it rivaled any performance in Hollywood any day in any movie. There were also some scenes throughout the season that was so well shot. You will get these amazing frames of the cast, and it shows how cinematic this series has become. The cinematography was extreme perfection. Every scene was well lit and color graded, whether day or night, and ensured that the audience never had to squint to see anything in the darkness. As for the score of Stranger Things, this is my favorite score of the horror genre of all time, even beaten back X-Files, which everybody can say is one of the most iconic scores in TV history. Years from now, when I have grandkids and they've stumbled upon me on YouTube and say, hey, their grandfather was a real nerd and look how shitty filming was back in the day, I'm going to be able to tell them and give praises to Stranger Things and tell them, listen to the score of Stranger Things, and you're going to see what perfection when it comes to setting the tone and the theme of a series is about. Overall, I loved every episode of this season. The weakest episode revolved around Millie Bobby Brown character 11, and that was the weakest episode, but yet it was still an excellent episode. That goes to show how far Stranger Things has come and how superb every episode is. I'm rating this as a 10. I don't like to rate TV shows, but I'm rating this so that you can understand as a viewer, and if you haven't seen it as yet, how much fun this series is. Stranger Things is like the best horror science fiction drama comedy you might ever see. The era it's set in is perfect. This world looks like so much fun. I wouldn't mind doing like a Back to the Future move and going back into the 80s and hunting demigorgons myself. Alright guys, thanks for checking out another installment of Trini Point of View. Remember to hit me a thumbs up, comment down below your thoughts on Stranger Things season 1 and 2, hit that notification bell to get notifications anytime I post new videos, and as usual, see you again.